Morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents of America, who popularized democracy as a government of the people, for the people, by the people. One of the things that makes democracy so difficult is that you're giving power to the people. And sometimes the people themselves do not understand that power. And those, of course, in positions of power and authority, as much as they may talk of democracy, while they are aspiring to all positions of power and authority, once in power, they don't want to be held to account. And I think that is at the heart of why Zimbabwe, as much as many Zimbabweans would want Zimbabwe to be a healthy and functioning democracy, we have struggled to make that work. And all the stakeholders seem to fail to understand their responsibility in a healthy and functioning democratic nation. Ben, welcome to the program. What's your view on the problem with Zimbabwe? Why is democracy such an elusive notion in Zimbabwe?
Uh, Thank you and good day to everybody. Like you said, I like your introduction when you said, you know, the people democracy works by giving the people power. But then with this power comes the responsibility. It needs know-how. What is it that you possess? What are you supposed to do when you have that power in your possession? I think this is the cornerstone of our you know our problem or our discussion today. Do the people understand what constitutes a democracy, what is expected of them in a democratic society? And I would dwell on Zimbabwe and I'll say, I think we we don't understand what democracy is. We like the idea, but we lack the understanding thereof. You know, there are prerequisites, there are fundamentals that need you know us to address for us to work towards democracy. Democracy is you cannot keep it. You work towards it always, and you maintain. You know, this is this is the part that I think we do not understand as the people.
Well, I'll start at the concept itself. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. I agree with you that if you're going to exercise that power, you need to understand what that power is. And I think the Greeks said it correct when they said that democracy only works if the people are educated, knowledgeable, and diligent. I think when you're talking of the people in Zimbabwe, most of the people really don't know. One of the problems I, for one, have heard people is this issue of leaders must be held to account. Understanding that has become a really big a mountain to climb. for some people. They would not accept their leaders should be accountable. They would accept leaders of other parties that they should be accountable. But their own leader, they cannot accept it. Here I'm talking of, for instance, Zanu PF supporters. Zanu PF supporters, if you criticize Zanu PF, you are immediately labeled a puppet of the West. If you criticize opposition leaders, you are immediately labeled a Zanu PF informer, apologist, CIO. Even in some of those cases, you say, so that is totally meaningless. You ask that MDC leaders should implement democratic reforms so that we have free, fair, and credible elections. And for an MDC supporter then to turn around and say, oh, you must be a Zanu PF CIO. Since when did Zanu PF want free, fair, and credible elections? So this notion of democracy, I agree. If you do not understand it, it becomes totally meaningless. Because it has got to the point now where some of the MDC supporters have got this Chamisa chete mentality, a cult mentality, where Chamisa is considered to be infallible and untouchable. And to criticize him is unthinkable. Well, that is contrary to what a democratic nation should be. He is a public leader and he should be held to account. And I would like to say it here and now, that is not negotiable. You cannot say, oh, no, Chamisa, let's leave him out. Let's just hold Zanu PF, Mnangagwa, and everybody else to account. But not Chamisa. No, he is a public figure. He must be held to account.
Yes, I agree with you to say, accountability is very important. And thinking outside the box. I mean, let's face it. People get rulers whom they deserve. I'll give you an example. Currently in Zimbabwe, we have two major political parties. Yes, there is a lot of political parties out there, but we know there is two major political parties. There is, Zanu PF run by ED, and we have Triple C. Well, what was Triple C? But let's just say, there is Chamisa there. Those are the two major, you know, political parties or political, individuals that are out there that are vying for the presidency, that are vying for leadership in Zimbabwe. And given their track record, would we actually say, we have made a good candidate choice? Are those people going to take us to a place where we can say Zimbabwe is a democratic country? Their characteristics, their traits to date during their political career, can we actually say that we are heading in the right direction? What have they achieved? You see, these questions must be answered by the citizens when making a choice. Are they talking something that is realistic? Not fancy talk, what we need to hear, what we want to hear, but what we need to hear. Are they actually taking us? Now I will take my focus particularly on onto MDC, Triple C, and Chamisa was also there within that whole, you know, organization. In the past 24 years that of their existence, right? Given that their very existence was to bring about democratic change, as their name has always, implied, have they drawn us any closer to achieving that? My answer would be a firm no. I firmly believe we have not gotten any closer to achieving, that level of attaining democracy, getting rid getting rid of rigged elections, you know, giving the voice back to the people. I think we have not even reached anywhere close to it. In fact, we have been taken round and round in a maze. One time we are up, it's so close. The next time, we are down. It is all made for us to believe that we are working towards, and yet time is going by. Every election, it's we are going to do it. We are going to do it. What does your name mean? The Movement for Democratic Change. Citizens Coalition for Change. What change? Is it a change of government? Is it a change, from a dictatorship back to democracy? What exactly are you selling? I think those are the questions that should be answered when you are making, when you're giving away your vote, which is your right. You should be able to cherish it. If we don't understand, it becomes very difficult. And we get shortchanged by getting poor candidates at the end. Yet there are candidates outside there that are telling you that, for example, that reforms are the basic need. Sadak has said it, all the other observer missions have said it, but we will not listen because we have our eyes firm on two, characters, and we are missing out on democracy because of that. So it also comes to our understanding. I think it is our understanding as the ordinary citizens that you know gives us the results that we are seeing each and every time, and how we actually see Zimbabwe moving forward.
In the case of Zanu PF, I think we should stop deluding ourselves that the party has ever cared about democracy. One man, one vote was at the heart of the fight to end white colonial rule. One of the blatant things that the white colonialists were doing was to deny people a meaningful say in the governance of the country by denying them a vote. And so, of course, that was a sore point. And so it's no surprise that during this fight for independence, one man, one vote was at the forefront. But as we got nearer independence, both Zanu PF and PF ZAPU, who were the parties leading in the fight for independence, both of them moved closer and closer to establishing a de facto one party state. Each one of them would have wanted to establish a de facto one party state. The two parties, if you look at their history, they tried to form a coalition to come together. The PF stands for Patriotic Front. That was the last, before the country's independence, attempt to bring the two parties together. But they never could hold as a one party because they mistrust each other, because each one wanted to be the dominant one. And so in the end, they went to the Lancaster House talks as two separate parties. The 1980 elections were not free, fair, and credible. Zanu PF, as much as they agreed at the Lancaster House talks to certain measures to make sure that the elections were free, fair, and credible, as much as possible at least, before they even went back to Zimbabwe, they had already a plan on how to undermine that very thing. The Lancaster House agreement said all freedom fighters, operatives, must be withdrawn to assembly points during the campaign for the votes. Zanu PF did not do that. Zanu PF kept a significant number of their operatives in the field. And those people were told that their campaign would be to tell the people in no uncertain terms that if Zanu PF does not win, the Bush war would continue. So out of the window, one man, one vote. Some people will argue that yes, Zanu PF had to do that because they did not trust the whites to hold free, fair, and credible elections. There may be some truth in that. But the truth also is that the regime did not care about one man, one vote. It didn't trust the people to give it power. It wanted absolute power, and it was determined to get it. Even if we accept the 1980s, Zanu PF did not trust the whites to hold free, fair, and credible elections. One would say what followed, the elections that followed thereafter should have been free, fair, and credible. And as we know, they were far from it. Indeed, by the time we held the next elections in 1985, the country was already up to its neck in the Kukura-Wunti massacre. And the primary reason, the primary cause of the Kukura-Wunti was Zanu PF finally trying to coerce PF Zapu to join Zanu PF so that they could form a one-party state. Their wish was finally fulfilled in 1987 with the signing of the Unity Accord. And that cleared the deck for Zanu PF to create a one-party state. The one-party state that has survived to this day. So Zanu PF had never had any intention of creating a democratic Zimbabwe. The only time the country ever got nearest to holding free, fair, and credible elections was in 2008. And what happened? Mnangagwa and company stopped ZEC declaring the results. Here is a short clip of Mnangagwa boasting of that very thing.
2008 patakaita ma-elections pakaposa papinda Tsvangirai ndandiri election agent ya president. Ma-results abuda tiri pa-party headquarters vamutasa vanga vari secretary vedu ve-administration vamutasa muripi ndafona ndiri kwarusapi komogwenda kwarusapi seka ma-results achibuda kudai vanga aiwa zvako izvo Mnangagwa ndezvako endaenda kumusha ofisi vanga vabisa zvinhu zvavo zvose watofunga kuti zani adini yaparara. President ofona zvakamira sei? Kati ndomamira zvakaita takatodini katida sei manje? Mama ndikati abvudzai baba nditaurira baba gadzirai politburo, cabinet. Musarangarira zvimwe zvinhu, gadzirai cabinet. Asi ndakuda kuti muzive kuti 2008 maresults abuda vamutasa vakatiza.
As a country, we face a generational transition. Vana vesa vari kuma below 35, they are crying out for help. The country is in a mess. Arusuru. We know we are inheriting a mess. We know this country has been left with nothing.
I'm assuring you that starting from tomorrow, you'll see a different nation from what you have seen or read on the news about these results and everything. Where we are going ahead there, the situation will be very different. What we said to our people, they could not see with their own eyes. We are going to act as we see it fit. We are prepared to go the whole distance.
I think it will be fair to say that Zanu PF is not a democratic party, but the MDC itself has not done any better. Ben, would you like to address the issue that is being raised there by one of our viewers?
Oh, okay. So the question is, can you not address the fragmented opposition to unite? I think, you cannot force people to come together. And clearly, as you can see, this is not the first time that the opposition has, imploded. We had, during Tsvangirai's time, they fell out with each other. The Mtambaras went their way, the BTs their way, and so forth, right? So here we have the main problem is, as long as we do not understand what constitutes democracy, what are the fundamentals of democracy, we are bound to make poor choices of candidates. Period. It's so, no matter how much you can join a lot of junk, it will always be junk, right? In English they say, if you give $1 million to a fool, he'll only just become $1 million fool. The problem is not about bringing the opposition together. Even if we were to bring them together, what are they fighting for? To go and challenge an election that is rigged? Is that the solution? What Zimbabwe needs is not a lot of opposition coming together. It is to formulate a solution, and the solution still, just like Dr. Mumba said, just like all the SADC previous observer missions said, there is need for reforms. That is where our answer lies, right? We can go about doing all other things, but as long as we don't address the fundamental, we are going nowhere. It will also affect even the quality of opposition that we choose.
Thank you, Ben. I think that point cannot be overemphasized. If we have agreed that the opposition are not democratic, they are not committed to democratic values, uniting them, what will that solve? will not solve anything. And indeed, one of the reasons why they've been fighting among themselves is that if they are all they are interested in is power, invariably, just because not all of them can be in a position of presidency, they will always be fighting over it. I think we need quality. Quantity without quality is just another problem you're just creating for yourself. The same applies to Zanu PF. Zanu PF, the only reason why they've managed to stay together is because whoever is in power has got the ability to bribe those around him. And in fact, this is at the very heart of corruption in Zimbabwe today. Mnangagwa has failed to contain corruption because to keep those around him faithful to him, he has got to bribe them. And the bill bribing these people has been mounting. And right now, the corruption has become so rampant that really there is really no chance in the country meaningful recovering, given the level of corruption that is going on. So I think that is at the heart of the problem here. We need the people themselves, in my view, the people themselves should be the ones who understand what democracy is and fight for that democratic nation to be created. To expect the opposition or Zanu PF to create the democratic nation is to be naive. And if we, the people, do not understand what democracy is, then we are doomed. Don't know whether you want to give your closing remark there, Ben, and we'll finish.
So in conclusion, I would say, democracy will only exist when, the people, the ordinary citizens, are knowledgeable of what should be done or how to attain it. The moment we do not know what we are supposed to be doing, our role that we play in a democratic country or institution, we will have politicians that will always be preying on their citizens, on the voters. And this is evident in what we are seeing in Zimbabwe: manipulation, right? Manipulation of votes, manipulation of the people being coerced, being forced, being beaten, and all that. It for all this to change, let us not be myopic and keep on looking at two political parties as if those are the only solutions that are there. Yet you find there are a lot of advices. SADC has not only advised now, SADC has always been saying that you need to implement reforms. They have been saying it over and over again. There is nothing they can do when you are willing to participate in rigged elections. Absolutely nothing. Because they'll have told you so before. This is why now you find, political organizations are quick to blame or push the blame to somebody else because they did not listen, because you, the people, did not listen to them. So they will say, well, if they're not willing to listen to us, why then should we help them? How do they want us to help them when they're not listening? So at the end of the day, it's our understanding. Once we get the understanding, the full knowledge of what constitutes or what are the prerequisites of attaining democracy, We will still be used by politicians going back and forth in a very, very, dangerous way, because look at how the country is. You're talking about corruption. Corruption has just gone into serious overdrive. What is going to be left for our children? What is going to be left for us, our retirement? We are getting old. We have to think about these things when even deciding who we are giving our vote to. So I hope that we do learn from this here, and make the bold decision to say, enough is enough. We have been taken advantage for a very long time. Now what we need is accountability. What have you done so far? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. My parting remark to the listeners tonight will be that if we want Zimbabwe to be a healthy and functioning democracy, we have got to be educated, to be knowledgeable, and to be diligent. Diligent in holding those in positions of power and authority to account. And on that note, I will emphasize that no leader holding public office should ever be considered to be untouchable. None. That should not be negotiable. Thank you very much for joining us tonight, and have a good